What's up, Summoners? King Blair here. Today, we're going to be talking about the current banner heroes, Iseria, as well as Melissa, as well as the new Mystic banner hero, Infernal Khawazu, which actually looks pretty cool, right? Pretty cool unit. As well, of course, as Ruele, who is also getting her rerun. So we'll talk about all four of these units, and I will have timestamps where you can go to see the individual units. As always, we do like to start with a summary of each unit, as well as a summary of where we are. But before that, I have a quick announcement, and that is we reached 5K subs, and I am so pumped. I still don't know what we're going to do. Comment down below what you want to see for 5K subs. I also put up a poll of what videos you guys want to see more of, so I can kind of gauge what you guys like and what you guys want to see. So thank you so much for the 5K subs. Let's keep it growing. If you're not subbed, sub to the channel. I'll try to do more stuff in the future. Next up, 10K will be an Aether cosplay. But enough about that. Let's actually get to what you came here for, which is going to be the unit reviews. So as I mentioned, we like to start with a summary of all the different units. First, starting with the summary, right? So where we are. Right now, we are very close to the collab. Like you can almost smell it. And I know you're about to say, King, I've been talking about it for like 2 months, right? When is that actually going to happen, right? So it is right around the corner. It's supposed to be end of June, although I feel like that timeline may get pushed back just because they haven't announced anything. So there's a chance they will push one more week. So just keep in mind that that is coming. We also know that the summer units are coming. SSB, who is a unit that you should really try to pull for, is going to be coming. Iseria, who's going to be a new unit, should be coming, as well as Holiday Euphine, which is not doing too hot right now, but just SSB and the new MO here, the new hero should be pretty spicy, right? So with that in mind, and knowing that, and as for the MO heroes, we know that MO Charles is coming, we know that MO Karen potentially is coming, and we also know that MO Strasse are all around the corner, right? So that's you also to keep in mind for the Mystic heroes. And now, as far as the summary of each of the units, Iseria, one of the best PvE units, especially when paired with Tamarine. Without Tamarine, Iseria is not as strong, but it's still very, very good, right? She's still an amazing PvE unit, even without Tama. And she does have some PvP capabilities. I know some people that use Iseria at high level and love their Iserias. They love their S3, they love the S2, they think she has good tech, and a lot of people like how she looks. She has an amazing skin as well that you can buy in the skin shop that looks super cool, right? So that part's really awesome, and the artifact that comes with it, this artifact is also a really good artifact for Wyvern if you don't already have it. So normally, this is a really good early game PvE banner. If it was any other time, but this close to the collab, I would probably say pull for Iseria. If it wasn't this close to the collab, I would be pulling for Iseria as a late game player because I don't actually own her. She is a really good unit and has not had a rerun for over a year, right? So she's an amazing pickup for early game players, but because the collab is right around the corner, you have to be frugal and you have to be ready and accept that if you go for this Iseria, this amazing PvE unit, that if you have Tema, it will make PvE super easy. But then you may miss out on some collab units and some limited units that could potentially also propel your account a lot better that you're not going to be getting for over a year. So really good early game banner, although you need to be aware that all the collab stuff is later. Melissa has fallen off a lot. Some people higher up in like high legend, high guild wars have told me that Melissa is actually an amazing unit and is also pretty good for arena. She does okay in arena. But the build that actually ended up coming on top is the speed Melissa build with high damage. And we're talking like 210, 220 speed, sometimes faster, sometimes slower. But she's mainly there to soul burn because she's a mage, she has book. She has a lot of single target damage and people use her to take out bulkier units in a guild wars, right? So one of the reasons people use her, and she does pretty good at doing that. But aside from that, she doesn't really do as much. I don't think I've ever seen a Melissa in RTA in a very long time. So as far as RTA, you don't see her that much. Guild Wars, she's an option. She's not a must-have. So unless you really like her design, she's pretty much a skip. But if you really like the design and you have extra bookmarks, she can work for you in Guild Wars. And she does okay in those Guild Wars, actually. And does okay in Arena, right? In the right situation. But not really for RTA. There's just too many threats to her. Now, as far as the Mystic Heroes, Ruele Light is a unit that pops in and out of metas. She is a unit that is also getting the RTA skin, if you guys didn't know, for this season. And it looks gorgeous, and she's going to look amazing in it. And overall, she's a really good support, but she kind of pops in and out of metas. If metas slow down a lot, she does pretty good. If metas speed up a lot, she also does really good because she's actually a pretty good addition to aggro teams. Right now, she's very commonly used with Mei Chloe for a very annoying revive team to keep your big DPSs alive and make it super hard for the opponent to try to kill you, right? So she definitely is a good unit. She's also a unit that you can get for free, although Arbiter Builder and Stene are usually better options. She's not a bad MO hero, and at some cases, she just overall makes teams better. I use her a lot for Guild Wars. She's very reliable and very safe for Guild Wars offense. I used to use her for Arena, back when I used to use Bruiser and when I liked Arena and didn't mind spending 10 minutes per fight. She was also very good there. So she's a very strong MO hero. Is she worth your pity? I personally don't think she is. Although we haven't had a really good must pull unit in a while. So if you have those extra mystics, you didn't get her for free because you got Arby or Stene. She's a very good unit. She's hard to build to make her shine, but it's so annoying for defense and can definitely do a lot of work for you. And it's a unit that will pop in and out of meta, as well as having the skin is very nice. And then Inferno, Khawazu, overall, kind of new. A lot of people have been playing around with them, and I've really liked them. Now, this summary has already been longer than the actual video, but let's actually try to speed it up a little bit. That's one of the reasons I wanted to add the timestamps. For Khawazu, I think he'll be mostly for RTA and for Arena and for Guild Wars. I think he's going to be a good PvP hero. I don't really see him being great for PvE just because he relies on burns, and burns aren't necessarily that crazy for PvE, right? So I don't think he's going to replace anyone for PvE. But let's start first with the old heroes, since we can go decently fast to them. We are going to start with Iseria, who is going to be the first one. So as far as stats, she is your typical ranger, who is pretty squishy. Really squishy, actually. Not too terrible. 6k HP, defense, decent stat. Like, overall, rangers have very spread stat lines. So she overall has a pretty spread stat line, right? Like, she can be decently bulky if you want her to be bulky. She can do a lot of damage if you want to do her damage. And she has some crit rate, right? It's not a bad stat line. She does give attack imprint as well as giving herself effectiveness, which is actually pretty nice because she actually does need effectiveness. And it's weird that she doesn't get her from her stats. Now, as far as the skills and why she's so good for particularly PvE, but can also be good in certain situations for PvP, that is really cool. I'm sorry, but I had not seen that they added this for units that do buffs. That's awesome. That is brand new. I had not seen this. I did not know that the quality of life team had already put this. That's awesome. This is the first time I've seen it, so this might have been this recent patch. So that's awesome. That's really cool. But as far as the skills, the S1 is actually going to be a skill that decreases the defense of the enemy for 2 turns. Really nice, right? It's the same as Cecilia. I think this goes up to 50%. Yep, it's the same as Cecilia, same as Mortalix. Pretty nice. 2 turns is a lot. And it's pretty nice that it's on an S1. Why is this so good? This is good for Green Expedition because you get set up decreased defense. This is good for Dark Expedition because, again, it sets up decreased defense. It's good for a lot of Abyss stages, again, because it sets up decreased defense. It's good for things like Raid, if you're using her in Raid, because it sets up decreased defense, right? So there's a lot of PvE content where this skill is actually really, really clutch, right? Where it's a really nice skill to have. 2 turns, it's consistent. In PvP, you can also make this skill. You can soul burn it, and this soul burn does a ridiculous amount of damage. Not only does it increase it to 100%, it also increases the damage dealt. It also gives her a really cool animation, but it's a lot of damage. This S1 chunks, right? So the S1 soul burn in PvP actually does a lot of damage. One of the reasons why you can actually build a damage Iseria for PvP is actually Guiding Light, because Guiding Light gives her the stealth necessary to have the stealth and be able to do the S1 and the S3 combo and potentially survive until later where she can do the S1s. So that's one of the reasons that some people do like her for PvP is because of Guiding Light. Then there's the S2, which is the most unique skill that I think is amazing. So what it does, resets all the cooldowns of an ally. I don't think there's any other unit that does this. And resetting this is really good for a lot of different heroes. If you have a Dark Corvus for Guild Wars or for Arena, you can use her in Dark Corvus with the artifact, Flan's artifact that gives you 10 souls, and you can do the S2 under the Dark Corvus, get 10 souls, and instantly do Dark Corvus Soulburn S3. Really, really good for Guild Wars, really, really good for Arena. For Last Rider Crawl, you can do this and give the Last Rider Crawl another S3. For Sage Ball, for all these other big heroes with S3s, you can just reset them, and she gets to set up right after with an S3. Where this is really good for PvE is because this also resets things like Tama. So Tama starts with full cooldown. You use the skill on Tamarine, and Tama will instantly get her S3, and it'll just be ridiculously powerful because Tama on her idle form is really strong, right? So an amazing skill, and the fact that it gives an extra turn makes it even better. And then you have the S3, which is a single target, full team dispel, or not full team, full buff dispel. So for one unit, you dispel all buffs on that one unit, and you set up a decreased defense as well as unable to be buffed. This pretty much sets up into a one-shot for a unit if that goes right after her, if you're using her for PvP. If you're using her for PvE, again, it's good. Why? Decreased defense. It's one of the reasons she's so good for Earth Expedition, right? For Water. I think I said Earth earlier before, for Water Expedition. She's one of the best heroes for that, and also for a lot of Abyss stages. She's kind of like makes it really, really easy. Is the decreased defense and able to be buffed. So again, really, really nice. It also strips. Really, really nice overall. Iseria is an amazing unit. She's an oldie. She looks great, and she's an amazing PvE hero. So should you pull, you can also use her for PvP, for Guild Wars, and for Arena. And if you really like her, even for RTA and have success with her. But should you pull for her any other time for early game players, the banner is actually really good because it also has the Song of Stars, which is amazing for Furious for Wyvern, although not necessary later on. But it's a really good banner for early. But again, because the collab is right around the corner and you want to have stuff ready for the collab, it's going to be something that if you have extra resources, or if you are a spender, or if you really like Iseria. I personally am not going to spend more onto her summons because I need to save. I don't have enough for all the limited units that are around the corner, right? So me personally, as much as I want this unit and as cool as I think she is, I have to wait a little bit longer, sadly. So overall, it's not a bad option to pill for her, but just know that you may be short on summons later on, which is not something you want to do, especially because we have no idea what the collab is and how their kits are going to look. But most limited units have been really, really strong. Now, moving forward, we are going to go to Melissa, who is the other hero that that has been around for some time. I know a lot of people really like Melissa. Overall, her stat line is really good. She has one of the highest attack stats in the game, second to like Gunther and to Senya, right? So she's right there in terms of attack, but with great power comes terrible defensive stats with atrocious HP, decent defense, decent speed, and no help on crit rate, no help on effectiveness, right? It's kind of rough because of that, but she does have really high attack, which is one of the few units that could potentially use attack buff, although people opt for speed set to make her a self-sustaining unit, so you don't need Oxlots, so you can actually use her without having to rely on Oxlots, so you don't get stopped by Polides for Arena. So as far as to her kit, her S1, you should almost never see her S1, but it essentially is a single target damage skill that applies on healable and does damage based on the caster's lost health. This skill does a pretty good amount of damage. The ratios in this skill are actually really, really good. I actually did used to use my Melissa a lot back in the day because I thought she looked really cool, and I still think she looks really amazing. She has an amazing animations. But the S1, pretty solid, does quite a bit of damage, but if you're seeing that skill, something went wrong because it means that you were not able to put enough damage on the table. The S2 will make more sense after we see the S3, but basically it's a single target damage skill. Again, does a really good amount of damage and gives her immortality for one turn. If it kills, the cooldown is reset, and this skill does a shocking amount of damage. Again, it's a really good single target damage skill. Animation wise, it is one of the best S2 animations that this game has to offer. I mean, just look at that. Just whoom. Really, really cool animation. Top of the line animation. I think it looks amazing. Just overall an amazing animation on S2. And again, just damage, right? Which is why she's not that good for PvE, because so far it's all damage, no support. And then the S3, that's pretty unique and has a really cool soul burn. Strips all buffs before attacking. She used to be a premier Ruele counter. Back when Ruele was everywhere, is why I use Melissa so often. Because you would strip the Ruelet, and then you would set up this curse that when you have curse, any damage that you do with single attacks will also give a proportion to the unit that is cursed. And this also works if you are attacking that unit. So we'll see it in a second how it looks like. But it also gives her an extra turn guaranteed. And it always attacks with that advantageous element, which again makes it really nice for one-shotting certain types of units. One of the reasons that people kind of like her for one-shotting units, right? And since she's a mage, she can carry a book on her own. And you can use that book to soul burn, S3, triple buffs, and get a guaranteed curse onto the enemy, especially because you attack the elemental advantage. So unless they have Moonlight Dreamblade, this skill is going to be guaranteed to hit and set up the debuffs, which is one of the reasons she's really good at one-shotting, is because you do damage with that skill, you strip all buffs, so it doesn't matter if they have on Cecilia, because it's strip, then damage, and then you can come in and do an S2, and you'll see here, even though we're doing it on this unit, that unit will still receive curse damage. Yep, so you see the extra curse damage, and the way it works is we can also do it on other enemies if we want to poke the enemies down, and it'll still do damage to the curse target, right? So it's pretty standard. It's just damage, right? If you really like her, you can use her for Guild Wars, again, because you can one-shot units and it's self-sustaining with the speed set. If you want her for more really good cleaving, I used to use her with Oxlots and had pretty good success, again, in Guild Wars. In Arena, it's kind of hard because there's a lot of Polides. But if you have the self-sustain build, you can probably still use her for Arena. For RTA, there are a lot of threats to her. You can still probably make her work in lower ranks if you really like her, but it'll be really hard because there are a lot of fast speed units, and you would have to have ridiculously good gear on your Melissa. But she can definitely work there as a one-shot style unit. That she's basically just there since she can set up curse and do damage on her own, right? Honestly, pretty unique, pretty cool. Has potential, really hard to build though because she has zero help on the crit rate aspect, right? So you have to get her crit rate, you have to get her speed, you have to give her attack. It's a lot of stats to try to get. I would honestly recommend a crit rate ring because she needs that many stats. Not crit rate ring, crit rate neck. You can't get crit rate on a ring. Crit rate neck, and it'll be pretty solid. So should you pull for her? Honestly, unless you really like how she looks, she is not a must-have unit. It's a unit that you could easily skip. She honestly doesn't do too much that other units can't do. And unless you really, and is hard to gear, right? So a hard to gear unit that has kind of like limited uses, for the most part, that's a skip unit. Unless you really like the way she looks and you think you can make her work really well. I would honestly just say skip. Now on to Ruele of Light. An oldie, but a goodie. Ruele Light is your standard support, very bulky and pretty slow, right? So amazing defense. I believe this is one of the highest defenses in the game. 700. The average for a tank, it's like 640 or barely touching 700. So has one of the highest defensive stats, but doesn't have the best HP stat, which is one of the reasons that having HP flat stats is not a bad option, right? If you have a ring with health and have a flat health, it makes it pretty nice. And the defense percentage makes this go way higher. No help on the FRS side, which kind of does hurt a little bit because you will want to give her some FRS. As far as the imprints, she does get self-health, which helps her low base HP be a little bit higher and makes her a lot harder and more annoying to deal with. And Ruels can eat a lot of damage. Typically, Ruels float around 180 speed with like 2k defense and like 20k HP. There's some crazy Ruels in the Discord. If you want to look, go to the Discord, join the Discord in the description, and go to the Soul Weavers. You will see some of the best Ruels, and you'll be like, wow, this unit looks disgusting. That unit is never dying. So what she does, S1, pretty basic, heals the lowest health ally, and does damage based on your max health. This part comes into play more than you would think. There's been several times where Ruel's S1 damage was the difference between a unit dying and surviving. So this scaling off of max health is actually pretty nice. And the healing is based on her max health, which is one of the reasons people build it with 20k HP, 18 to 20k HP. So this will heal a lot. The other thing you can do with the Soul Burn is this does an AoE heal. And it essentially, if it's not high frenzy, it's a full team heal. So with 20 souls, you can get a full team heal, which again is amazing. So that is really good. As far as the S2, this S2 is going to be a single target heal that cleanses all debuffs on the targets, as well as giving them a barrier for 2 turns. And the heal is pretty good based on max health. What makes it so good is that it cleanses, then it heals. So it doesn't matter how many debuffs the ally has. You can just come in with an S2, use it on the ally, basically give them a full heal, cleanse them, and give them a barrier, essentially resetting them back to full health. Which again, it is very, very annoying to deal with, especially because it's not on the highest cooldown. It's only 3 turns, right? So that S2 really, really good. It's one of the reasons that you see Ruele with such high FRS is because the single target healing and the cleansing is really nice. And if they can lock her down with like straight hits, like from FCC or with Crow, they will be really sad when your Ruele cleanses. And then, of course, there's the S3, which is the reason what Ruele is known for. You revive an ally back to full health. This is really strong. Why is it so strong? It's a full heal and invincibility, and you can also just use it early to get invincibility up and stop a unit from dying. This skill essentially just makes it so for aggressive teams, like for example, very heavy single target damage teams, they're not going to be able to kill Ruele because Ruele is usually in Water's Origin and is extremely tanky. And the Ruele, then if they kill one of your allies, you can easily S3 them back. Think Landy, think SSB, Carrot, all these really heavy DPS, even Stenit to an extent, that it takes a lot to try to kill them. Imagine now you have to kill them twice, right? And you have to kill them when they don't have their invincibility up, so they essentially get a turn guaranteed. That is one of the reasons why Ruele is known and is so annoying, is because it gives you a freebie, right? You can just revive a unit. For Guild Wars, this lets you save units, and it's one of the reasons why I like Ruele a lot, because I get to save a unit for other fights. So again, it's the best single target healing. It's amazing. It resets. So what does you usually use? Again, very, very tanky on high FRES, high defense, about 180 speed, and just annoying, bulky support that just makes one unit survive for dummy long. Ruele does lose to AoE damage, but aside from AoE damage, if it's single target damage teams, they are not going to be able to deal with Ruele's healing, and you will most likely win that fight. So overall, should you pull for Ruele? She is getting a skin. She does pop in and out of metas. There's times where she's super broken. There's times where she's not as good because Cleave may be too strong at the time. So it really depends on the current meta. It also depends how good you have the gear. But overall, it will always be a good counter pick. And if you like her a lot, you can definitely use her. She is a strong unit. And if you do end up using your pity for her, it's not bad. As always, with Mystics, you should wait to see what the next ML is. It could be someone like ML Cowrick. And then if you really like Ruele and you like how she plays, you like reviving, you like playing slow team compositions, she is your gal. So we haven't had a really powerful ML Mystic hero, but that means that the next one might be. So at least wait till we see the kit of the next one before you decide to pull for her. But she's also getting the skin, and she's proven to be a strong unit, right? So you can't go wrong with Ruele. Very, very good at supporting. And last, but definitely not least, ML Khawazu. Infernal Khawazu. I have not looked at this guy too deeply, so let's actually take a look at him. As far as the speed, not the fastest in the world, but you'll see why it doesn't matter that much. Has decent defensive stats, 6k and 600, it's decent. And the attack is quite high, no help on crit rate and no help on effectiveness. Although, as we'll see in a second, he doesn't really need it, right? So we'll see that in a second. His imprints are going to be attack, which makes a lot of sense for him, and health for your allies if you're using him in a bulky team. But now let's actually see why people are really interested in testing him and think he could be a really good unit. Myself included. I think he definitely has a spot, at least as a counter unit. Why do I think he can be a pretty decent counter unit? Or not on counter set, but a counter pick unit. So first let's look at the S1. What it does is attacks the enemy and has a, I believe it goes up to 85%. Let me check. Well, it only goes to 75% chance. So it has a 75% chance to apply burn for one turn. When you have vigor, and you'll see vigor in a second, this jumps up to 100% and you get 2 burns. That's a lot of burns, right? So you can set up 2 burns with this, and you can soul burn the skill to get an extra turn. So theoretically, you can stack a ton of burns on the enemy when you are granted vigor, right? And vigor will be gone from this S2. So again, kind of looking like a burn unit, right? Kind of like thinking like Carrot, right? Because Carrot applies burns. So S1, pretty unique. I think the S1's really cool. The burn aspect of it makes it so he doesn't need to build crit damage. He can focus on building attack and landing the debuffs, right? That's usually how these type of units play. And it makes it easy because you don't have to put crit rate. You can stack other stats like tank stats and attack. Again, kind of like a Carrot. You stack a bunch of attack, a bunch of tank, and let them just slowly melt the opponent down. Then we see the S2, which is one of the skills that I think is really, really unique. So first, vigor. How do you get bigger? When you get hit by an AoE attack. So think Landy, think Last Rider Craw, think General Purgus, think Cerise, think all these big S3s, even Fallen Cecilia. There are a lot of AoE S3s, even Carrot, right? There are a lot of AoE S3s. when you're hit, even RB, right? AoE is everywhere. And when you get hit by an AoE, you dispel all debuffs. So that's Cerise. Those debuffs are gone, right? That's really cool. So you can't really control him turn 1. F10A. Those debuffs are gone. Against F10A, he works pretty well, right? You cleanse all debuffs, and you get Blazing Fury, and you activate Blazing Fury, which essentially, it's every 2 turns, it gives you Vigor, right? And that's how you get those extra 2 burn effects on your S1, and you get the 100% chance to land the burns. The 2 burns is when you get Vigor, so when you get hit by an AoE attack. And you have it for 2 turns, and when you get hit again in 2 turns, you'll get it again. But that increases your attack and defense by 30%, making him significantly bulkier and significantly more attack. The attack is important because that means your burns are doing more damage, right? So again, we're seeing that interaction with burn. The attack is starting to make sense. And then right after, you also get a heal and a CR push of 20%. Oh no, combat range is 20%. I'm sorry, I misspoke. He gets his 20% CR push and heals based off his attack. So essentially, you nullify all AoE damage. If an arbitrary builder hits you, you probably have enough damage to heal most of the damage up. And he's already kind of bulky, and you get Vigor making him bulkier. That can get pretty annoying, right? So really, really solid S2. I am actually a really big fan. Kind of counters a lot of AoE style things and sets him up to cut the team. Then we see the S3, which I think is really, really unique and cool. And I see potential in this skill. But what it does is you attack the enemy, dispel all buffs, and then right after you dispel, you apply 2 burn effects for 2 turns, and at the end of the turn, you detonate it. So think Carrot, again, detonating burn. And when you have Vigor, this ignores FRES. So you have a 100% chance to strip and to land 2 burn debuffs that will instantly detonate right after. So when you start thinking about that, that means that you get a guaranteed burn essentially. And because he's dark, you're probably landing this. Unless, of course, Moonlight Dreamblade. Why is this so good and unique? Again, we go back to the whole kit. If they AoE attack you, right? You don't have to be too fast. Just fast enough to be able to cut. If they do Landy, if they do General Purgus, if they do all these other heroes, right? They will CR push you up. You will get Vigor. You will cleanse yourself. Get that guaranteed turn. Do the S3. You have that increased attack. You have good base attack. You dispel 2 burns, detonate. This does a good amount of damage. I've gone against a couple and it does around like 10k, right? And I don't think those are like the best ones, right? I definitely think that there's going to be better ones down the line, maybe focusing more on the attack. But detonating burns, that's a lot of damage, right? That's how Carrot gets her damage as well, is through burns. And he definitely looks very unique. So why do I think he's so unique overall? So first, this ignores FRES, which means you don't necessarily need effectiveness on him. You might still want some, just so you're able to land this on things like Crawl, on Fallen Cecilia, because that is how you're going to be doing damage. I don't think he needs any crit rate. I don't think he needs any crit damage. I think you need to focus on the burn damage, which means you should give him some effectiveness, and you should give him a lot of attack while still keeping him decently bulky. He's good into cutting to teams, and I think he's going to be an annoying bruiser, right? And it's cool to see these other units that don't rely on crit rate and crit damage as much. So I'm a big fan of seeing a unit like this that does damage through burns. Similar to Carrot, again, I don't think he's going to be as OP as Carrot, but I think he's definitely going to be a good bruiser. So should you pull for him? Well, if you're pulling for him, that means you're okay with getting Ruele. I think he has the potential to be a really good unit in the future, again, because this is guaranteed to land. It's essentially really good damage, because I believe Burns has like 70% defense penetration. So it does really good damage on tanks. And the fact that this S1 is also 2 burns whenever you get hit by an AoE, I think it's really cool. He's decently bulky, again, because he gets that increased defense from the S2. So all in all, well-made unit. I actually think he's going to be a strong unit. I think he's a unit that if you have the resources for and you don't mind getting a Ruele, I would definitely try pulling for him. I think he's definitely a good PvP hero. So overall, Infernal Khawazu, if you're okay with getting Ruele Light and you want a bruiser that does damage kind of different from the other units, that is based on you getting debuffs and is guaranteed to land those debuffs, which is really nice, I think he's a really solid option. A lot of people are using him on Border Coin. since his S2 activates as a skill, and Border Coin gives you increased attack as well as increased speed whenever you use this skill. So it's a pretty nice stat boost whenever you get hit by a AoE skill. So Border Coin, really, really spicy for him. There are probably other options, but I honestly feel like that's going to be the best one. He doesn't have self-sustain, so of course, besides like proccing this S2, which is only going to happen every other turn, and he will still lose to things like LQC, although he could theoretically cut in before LQC after the General Purgus and kill the LQC with this S3. So you got to think about that, right? We don't know how much damage he's going to be doing from these burns. We don't know how far people can push him with the attack. He does have good attack. So I definitely think this guy will be used in RTA, will be used in Arena, and definitely for Guild Wars, because getting guaranteed burns in Guild Wars sounds really good on a Bruiser unit, right? That's awesome. That's reliable damage that you can get. He looks also kind of unique on counter set, because on counter set, oh man, you landing double burns and just stacking burns, it sounds really fun with Carrot actually. So overall, I think he'll be a good unit. One-made hero, really, really awesome. Will be fun to see where he goes. But that is all I got for you guys today. Sorry if I started getting a little slow. This was a longer video. Hopefully I still did the last heroes justice, even though I may not be as energetic as normal when we got there, since it's already been 30 minutes. But if you made it this far, thank you so much for joining. Let me know in the comments if I said anything wrong, I misspoke. I'll pin the comments if it's something that's really, really bad, and I'll discuss them then. But that is all I got for you guys today, and I will see you next time. Peace.